Hello, hello. We're going to be started in a few minutes. This is the Yes, California, Calexa Congress, first California governor recall debate. We will be starting on time at 5:30 p.m. I'm just starting a little bit early in case anybody wants to come. All right. Dakota, how are you doing, sir?
How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
How are you doing, sir?
How are you, sir?
So that's why I started a few minutes early. So let me just go through the motions. Grover, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes and yes.
Dakota, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I just, got to make sure, can we get the technical stuff right? Because it's horrible once we get started and then et cetera. You both have seen the questions. We're going to get started on time at 5:30. We're going to ask those 5 questions. I'm going to do an intro walking things through, but just for you to know, I know we're getting to know each other, but I don't do gotcha journalism. So there's not going to be a ha-ha trick you. I'm asking tough questions. You've already seen them up front. We're not going to frame it. Whatever it is you say is what you say. So this is, you live and you die by your sword. So if you nail it, you look good. If you don't, is what it is. So we don't edit. It goes right out to the public. You've seen the 5 questions. Everybody's going to get the same amount of time to answer every single question. So there's no favorites. Each of you is going to be asked to introduce yourself at the beginning, and then we have 5 questions, and each of you will get 3 minutes per question. If we have time, we're going to take questions from a reporter and then from the public. The question from the reporter is this one. That's if we get time to do that. So we may not even get there. This is a maybe. This is from Diane from the Independent Sentinel. I told her that I will try to ask this question. If we do ask this, then it's likely to get a reporter to also pick up this interview, which is good for everybody. So there's no gotcha journalism. There's no tricks. It is what you see it as. And et cetera. Okay, everybody looks good. We're going to wait for Wildstar. He'll be here in a second. And we'll go from there. Let me just run through the motions. Okay, so can you both see that first question?
Yes.
How would you have done better than the current governor? Okay. Here's the second question. The governor's race is about 1 year away. Can you both read that question?
Yes. Can you make the text bigger at all, or is that? If not, no big deal.
I will announce the question.
Okay.
So part of it is I'm trying to print it exactly as we said, so that everybody can match.
So it all fits on there. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, just so that people can go exactly what they were sent was exactly what's on the video. Like everything lines up perfectly. I understand. I will announce the question. You will clearly understand it.
Yeah.
And it is one of the ones you've already seen.
Perfect.
Just housekeeping. Can you see that question? Children in California are having their education severely impacted.
Yes.
Okay. And the 5th question. We kind of got that from Texas. That was asked by a fair amount of Texans.
Okay.
So, let me see here. Diane from the Independent Sentinel.
Hello, how are you?
Great. I'm here. I just went over the question you asked with the reporters. with the candidates. We have one more candidate coming, and we'll get started at 5:30. Thank you. Diane, I might move you to the back room just so the video is there, but we are asking the questions, and when I ask that question, I will call you.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay, give me 1 second. And that's the question I got from you, Diane. So we will ask. Give me 1 moment. Okay, it's time. You are? Let me look. Oh, there you are. Okay. Okay, Nicholas Wildstar. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can. There you are. Hello.
Okay. So I am going to get started. It's 5:30. We're starting on time. We have the candidates here, Dakota Vaughn, Grover, and Nicholas, and I'm going to do a formal introduction for everybody. Additionally with us is Diane from the Independent Sentinel. She's a reporter who covers conservative news and has worked with us before, and has a question for everybody. I'm going to ask that in a little bit, and we will hopefully get some more increased press publicity. Thank you from Diane from the Independent Sentinel being here. Diane, I'm going to move you to the backstage. No offense, you're still here. Okay, getting right into it, everybody can see the candidates here. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to this Yes California Cal-Exit Congress first governor's recall debate. The very first California governor recall debate is happening right now. This idea started by people in Yes California. It was worked through and built by people in Yes California, but it's organized and for the people of California in general. It was started by people at Yes California, but it's for everybody. We're doing this so the public can learn how to think about these issues and approach them. So let me jump right into it. I have a prepared speech. Okay, the agenda for today will be as such. We're starting at 5:30. We will have an introduction by the moderator on why Yes California is doing that. That is me. We will have facts by the moderator, myself, about this recall debate, to be fair to both sides, those against and those for. We will have an introduction of the candidates by the moderator, that's me. And then we will have an introduction of the candidates in their own words, that's you. 2 minutes per person to say whatever it is you like introducing yourself. Then I will introduce the 5 questions. Each candidate will have 3 minutes per question to answer, and I will be moderating at the time. I would ask, please don't speak over your time limit. We have to be on schedule, and I would hate to mute anybody. You have 3 minutes. Everybody's going to get the same amount of time. Everybody's asked the same questions. After that's done, we will ask a question from Diane from the Independent Sentinel, a reporter, and then we will take questions if there's time from the public. Finally, each of you will have time to make a final statement, 2 minutes per candidate, saying whatever you would like after the debate is over, before the recording is ended. To end it how you would like. Additionally, I will provide closing remarks by the people who organize this event, and we will have a hard ending at 7:30. Let me get right into the introductions. I'm going to do an introduction by Yes Cal, and then I will introduce all 3 of you. Then you will be allowed to introduce yourself, and we'll go right to questions. But I have to sort out a few things since this is our first event. To the public watching, you are cordially invited to the very first California recall debate hosted by the Yes California Cal-Exit Congress, the voice of the Cal-Exit movement. The Yes California campaign will be hosting this debate and sharing the broadcast of the debate with their 160,000 members across multiple channels here in California and 400 reporters we've made contact with here in California and across the world. We are committed to working with all Californians, regardless of their political differences, and are taking action to make sure all will be heard. Yes, California does not directly endorse the recall effort. Rather, we are committed to covering issues that Californians care about. And with this recall effort appearing to qualify for the ballot, we had to take note. Frankly, many Californians were talking about this, and because we are inclusive and we want to reach out to everybody, we had to cover this issue. We said that we want to work peacefully with conservatives across America to achieve our long-range goals, and we cannot be taken seriously here at Yes California unless we're willing to work with conservatives here in California. The goal of Yes California hosting this event is to be fair and informative, and to be inclusive of all Californians and all of their opinions. To achieve those goals, Yes California partners with many people and reached out to all candidates, liberals, progressives, hardcore Republicans, Trump supporters, Green Party people, people who hate Trump, people who don't even like the recall. If you were a registered candidate, we asked you to join. We reached out to progressives. The people you see here are the people who responded. In no way was this debate biased, and did we not try to reach out to everybody? Each candidate will be asked 5 questions. Those questions were developed by Yes California and approved by Yes California members. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to answer each question, and everybody will get their chance to answer all questions. These questions are not going to be easy to answer, and you're going to see answers coming from the candidates that might be a little bit difficult. It's up to them to handle it the best that they can. We are not editing it. Whatever they say goes directly to you, to the public, and will be available to 160,000 people as they said it. I will be your moderator today. My name is Marcus Ruiz Evans. I've appeared in the Washington Post, New York Times, Chicago Tribune, San Jose Mercury. Additionally, with Comedy Central with Trevor Noah and on Fox TV with Jesse Waters and many other hosts. I've been on both left and right publications. The concept of hosting this event, the questions for the event, the design of this debate panel were not created by me, but by the members of Yes California. Now let's get right to the facts of this debate so that we can be fair. Governor Gavin Newsom did save thousands of people's lives and kept this world's 5th largest economy at least from collapsing. Maybe he didn't do it right. Maybe it could be done better. But this was an unprecedented challenge. Nobody had seen a pandemic in 100 years. There was no guide to. There were no experts to ask. Additionally, to compound the uniqueness of the situation, the federal government completely disappeared. So Governor Newsom had to deal with an issue that was unprecedented and had to deal with no federal help, which was also unique. Difficult situation to face. He rose to the challenge, and he did things that kept people safe and at least kept our economy from collapsing. Now, while he did that, many small businesses suffered and have since gone away. There's been destruction to people's lives. There's been destruction to the economy. But he did at least keep us afloat, and the budget is moving. That's true about Newsom. But here are additional facts about Newsom, just to be fair. Governor Newsom did, in fact, send his children to a school with other kids when he told people, don't send your child to a school. That's a fact. Governor Newsom did show up to dinner with guests when he told people you should not go to dinner with guests. Governor Newsom did, in fact, keep his business open in the county where it's located, while he told other businesses to shut down in that county. That's a fact. Governor Newsom did say that he was not going to release the model that all the decisions for reopening the economy was based on science, because he felt the California public was not intelligent enough to understand it correctly, and he refused to share that model. That is a fact. Governor Newsom did not call out the Los Angeles County government when they said, we will release the scientific findings showing who and why businesses get shut down, and then totally backed away and refused to show the evidence after they said they would. Newsom never called them out. That also is a fact. Additionally, the Sacramento Congress recognized that Governor Newsom was keeping people alive and jumping into an unprecedented situation, and he needed emergency powers. But after a few months, the elected officials by us, the people of California, said, can you come and speak to us about what you're doing? And he refused to do that, at least for a couple months, against the wishes of Democrats in Sacramento. That also is true. Also, it's not fair to call this recall debate a coup. That's been in the newspaper recently. The January 6th storming of Washington, D.C. was, in my opinion, and many Yes California people, a coup by the worst actors doing the worst thing. That has nothing to do with the recall debate. The recall debate is enshrined in the California Constitution. It is built in law. The people filed it using the law, and never have they said they don't want to use the law. The coup on January 6th in Washington had nothing to do with the law and was by people who did not want to follow the law. It is completely inaccurate to say that the recall debate is anything like a coup. One follows the law, is law-abiding, the other has nothing to do with that. It's also unfair to say that the recall debate is hosted by nothing but Trump lovers who are mad that Trump lost the election and want to take him down. I have never supported the recall election, but I've gone to many recall signing events. I've met these people. They said nothing about Trump. They said nothing about liberalism. What they said was, my business is crushed and I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. Period. However, it's fair to say that there are many Trump supporters who do back the recall effort. That's true. Now that we've handled the facts, we're going to get right into the introduction of the candidates, followed by the questions. Here are the candidates. Dakota Vaughn grew up in Union City, Tennessee. He moved to California in 2016, where he met his wife and started a small business. He is a committed Christian who puts faith above everything else. He stands for making sure construction workers receive fair wages and benefits from union protection. And he also thinks teachers should get a bump in pay. Nicholas Wildstar was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and moved to California in 1999 to establish a career in music, a very popular industry here. After working in that industry for a while, he moved to become a marketing specialist in digital advertising. He's also fought against police brutality successfully in the city of Fullerton and has achieved a great following among the California Libertarian Party and its associated members. Grover Colthorpe is a third-generation Californian, very impressive, who grew up in California. He dealt with poverty as a child and started working washing dishes and cleaning limos. Later on, he became a police officer. Currently, he runs an insurance brokerage small business and is focused on holding Sacramento politicians to account for the money that they spend. Now, I'm going to turn it over to each candidate. You will have 2 minutes to introduce yourself as you see fit. If I said anything wrong, that'll add to your 2 minutes and you can correct me. So going first, Grover, could you introduce yourself in 2 minutes? What is your background story? We're going to get to your policies in a minute and with the questions. Who are you as a person in your words, sir? 2 minutes.
So my name is Michael Grover Coltharp II. You know, I grew up in California, and this is my state, and I'm tired of seeing people leave. You know, I'm running for governor because it's time that we have somebody who doesn't want to just keep going from one political position to another to get more power and control over the people. You know, we need somebody who has actually been out on the streets and talked to the people and sees what happens to the citizens when bad policy is created by our legislators. And we need to make sure that we have somebody in this office who understands the Constitution and understands what our freedoms mean and how important it is to protect them. I'm here because I want to give the government power back to the people where it belongs. The government works for us. We don't work for them. And they've forgotten that a long time ago. Thank you.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Okay, Dakota, could you introduce yourself, sir, for 2 minutes?
My name is Dakota Kane Vaughn. I moved to California in 2016, and I'm running for governor because the people I talk to, they're tired of the same system, people getting in just for power, for fame, for the money, and nothing ever gets done. They get in, they say they're going to do it, it don't get done. We have to put the power back in the people's hands.
That's excellent. Thank you. You guys are doing really well on time. Okay, Nicholas Wildstar, in your words, how would you like the world to see you, sir? In no more than 2 minutes.
Sure. Hello, I'm Nicholas Wildstar. Over the past 10 years, I've been a very involved community activist that has participated and led rallies for a multitude of causes, from criminal justice reform to media censorship to women's rights. I've been on the front lines calling for action and have made it a point to stand alongside those in need. I've joined soup kitchens to feed those looking for a meal, and have even done so on my own when no organization was there to get involved with. I've groomed civil rights leaders like Stevante Clark and have inspired many others to run for office themselves. I've even hit the streets as a petitioner to collect signatures to recall Gavin Newsom, and have met and spoke with thousands of Californians face to face about the issues that matter most to them. I say this so that you know that I'm a man of action that takes a hands on approach to getting the job done. I'm not the type that will wait for others to provide a solution when I'm capable of providing one of my own. I'm also the type that works well with others and can bridge the gap between those with differing point of views. I've talked to Proud Boys and Antifa members, Three Percenters and Black Panthers, white nationalists and Black Lives Matter protesters. I've talked to people who hate homosexuality, abortions, or drugs. And I've talked to other peoples whose lives included an aspect of one of or all of the above. I've talked to wealthy people and those who don't have a dollar to their name. I've done this because I know that healing a community starts first with communication, and an effective leader will listen first so they can know what to say. Everything that you will hear from me tonight will prove how California can become the greatest state in America with Wildstar for governor. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to get right into it. So now that all the formalities are out of the way, we're going to launch into the thing that everybody's been waiting for. But first, a little branding. Give me 30 seconds and we'll get started. Okay. Here's the first question. How would you have done better than the current governor at dealing with this pandemic? A lot of the recall debates about the pandemic. How would you have done better? How would you have done differently? Why should people think that you would be a better leader? 3 minutes per person. We're going to go in order of first name. So Dakota, 3 minutes, sir. How would you have done better?
Simple. I would have kept the businesses open. I wouldn't have killed our businesses. And you have to remember too, let's not forget about the billion-dollar face mask deal that Newsom made with China. A lot of people don't know that. He gave $15 million into lead vaccine task force when there's over 6,000 other pharmacies that could have done it as well. But I would have kept the businesses open. You know, he went against his own regulations. As you stated, he had dinners when he kept all of us hostage, and yet we're still not open. Everything's just basically starting to gradually open back up. I would have opened way beforehand. It's been way too long. We have to get our businesses open, and we have to get people back to work.
Okay, so your answer is that you would have just kept the businesses open at least a lot longer than the current governor, and you would have not bought the equipment out of China like the governor did. Is that fair?
Absolutely not. I would have bought it right here in America.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to go to Grover next. Grover, how would have you handled this pandemic much differently? In your own
Well,
words?
first of all, I understand how it is, and my heart goes out to those who lost members of their families and friends to COVID. I've lost 2 family members. I had COVID myself last year, and so I know how it is and how serious this pandemic is. But what I would have not done is I would have not shut down these businesses and taken the rights away from the business owners to provide for their families. You know, they chose to stay open to provide for their families and also provide for the employees so they can provide for their families. You know, suicides skyrocketed during this pandemic. The other thing that I wouldn't have done is I wouldn't have sent armed state officers into businesses to intimidate people to shut down, like a Gestapo from a communist country. We've had historically, if according to the CDC, we've had several pandemics, and not one of those warranted shutting down our economy. And we haven't seen the end of it yet.
So you would have also not shut down the businesses, and you would have been less militant in enforcing the regulations. Is that a fair statement?
Definitely.
Okay. Nicholas Wildstar, how would you handle the situation differently, sir?
Well, I know a lot of people aren't going to like hearing this, but it's up to people themselves to protect themselves. That's not government's job. So you take that risk as an individual when you go outside the house each day. And even before coronavirus, that risk was always there. So it's not like people are dropping like flies. So if you go outside, you are again taking that risk upon yourself, and government can't force you to do anything that you don't want to do. On the flip side, because people aren't dropping like flies, we are seeing these lockdown precautions cause a severe risk to people's livelihoods. I mean, here we are over a year after this pandemic has been declared, and there's a little over 50,000 people that have died from the pandemic. That's unfortunate, of course, because any loss of life is awful. But because of that, over 40 million people in the state of California have been forced to not be able to leave their homes or live their lives as they would like to. So that's extremely unfortunate, and we definitely should not be forcing anybody to be having to stay in their homes based on data that it isn't based on casualties, I would think. And also, of course, with the jobs, not deeming one person's livelihood to be more important than the others. I mean, everybody's life and way of providing themselves is essential. So shutting down restaurants for having indoor dining when, restaurants like French Laundry are able to stay in business and seat guests like Gavin Newsom is, of course, extremely contradictory.
Thank you. Sorry. We're going to try to stay on time. Thank you very much.
I apologize.
Let's go to the second question. And there might be follow-up questions from the public. We'll see. Here's the second question. The governor's race is about 1 year away. Why do we have to do the recall now? Can't we just wait? Whatever damage he's done is done. Why does he have to be removed now? Why can't we repudiate him voting in the near future? Dakota, your response, sir?
Well, he's already had thousands upon thousands of people sign wanting him gone. There's people literally in the streets just with petitions wanting him gone. He's already had 6 recall petitions filed in the last 3 years since he's been in office, since 2018. He's failed to enforce the immigration laws. He's put illegals before citizens. He vetoed 3 wages for construction workers. He's not for the California people. He could care less about us. He's done nothing to help the people of California. If you get 6 recall petitions filed on you in the last 3 years, why hadn't this guy been going already? It don't make no sense. Everybody I talk to says he should have been going in 2019. So what's the real reason that he hadn't already been going? It looks like the signatures are there. The people want him gone. So what's the holdup? We have the highest taxes in the nation. He's done nothing for that. Everything continues to go up. The housing it's impossible to buy a house in California. The rent is extremely ridiculously high in California, and nothing has got said about that. It seems like he's just in hiding, and all of a sudden, since he's getting recognition of the recall, he's starting to come out more and do more. But it's kind of too late. The people's already spoken.
Got to stop you there. Thank you. Grover, the recall election, the election's a year away. Why do we have to have a recall?
That's a great question, Marcus. I guess my question to that is, why is it that we already have a recall started? You have a group of citizens of California who started this most recent recall back in November. Why is it that they started that? Because Newsom has been failing them. Newsom has been failing the citizens in this state, forgetting the fact that we're the ones that he works for. And just like Dakota mentioned, there's a lot of things he's been doing. But the reason we're having the recall now instead of waiting is because the California Constitution actually says that once the recall is certified and approved and finalized, we must have a recall election or a special election. So that is why we're having it now. Now, if there's a recall election within a 6-month period of a general election, we can wait. But in this case, that's not happening. And so because of the Constitution of California, we have to have an election now. And once that gets approved and certified, Gavin Newsom cannot be involved in the recall process. Either the lieutenant governor or the state controller has to run this process. So it's a big deal.
Okay. Nicholas Wildstar, same question.
Well, we, the people of California, are suffering, and we need immediate help, which Newsom has been slow to do. I mean, even now, he's just now rolling out a package to assist those people that are in need of assistance, since the EDD has been backed up and hasn't been able to provide emergency funding. So he's now rolled out this stimulus package, which is nearly $8 billion. It comes with the $8 billion price tag for taxpayers. So one thing that I plan on doing is eliminating taxes, get rid of these income tax, state tax, gas tax, and shift to a non-taxpayer, generated revenue stream. So we can definitely do that here in the state. And he also hasn't been able to successfully roll out the vaccine, which has been going bad because there's been a line of people in line. So since the vaccinations have a shelf date, they've been wasting product. And, he has a winery that's received millions of dollars in aid, those triple P loans that was supposed to go towards assisting, small businesses. Instead, his winery received that. So his policies and inaction has threatened the livelihood of Californians. And we have the recall option as an emergency option. We have term limits because if he doesn't do the job within the first or second term, we have that emergency option to say, okay, we want to get him out of office now. So I applaud all of the people that did initiate the recall process, because it gives we, the people of California, an opportunity to hold our elected officials accountable.
Okay. Very good. All right. We're going to move on to the third question. Before I do that, just for the audience, what it seems, though, we're hearing is that Newsom has done so poorly that he needs to be removed soon. Grover, I thought, made a point that this is what the law says, and so you have to follow through. And that seems to be the amount of reasons why this has to go forward. Here's the third question. California has many issues: poverty, wealth discrepancies between the people doing very well and the people just scraping by, homelessness. How would you handle any of the other big issues California does in a manner that no one's tried before or this governor isn't doing? What would you do differently to solve any of the other major challenges California is facing besides this current epidemic? Starting with Dakota.
This is pretty much what I'm running on my whole campaign. You know, you have the current gap is, it might not be popular to say, but stupid politicians, greedy politicians. Look at the bank accounts. Look at what your governors, look at what your senators are buying. They can't, you know, they're making 100, 200,000 a year, but yet their net worth is 5, 6, 7 million. The taxes, and you know, I'm proud to say it. The only candidate running defunding the police, cutting the taxes, getting rid of their high-paying wages. You shouldn't have brand new cop cars, brand new equipment. You have to cut their pay, get rid of their high-paying wages. That's, you know, that's simple. Get the nonviolent offenders out of jail. I don't think people realize how much it costs to keep a nonviolent offender in jail, in prison. You know, you got to get out and talk to these people, get rid of useless, out-of-date laws, incompetent judges.
You know, Dakota, if I wasn't mistaken, defunding the police and increasing pay for teachers are traditional progressive planks. Is that a fair response of your stance, sir?
I would say it might not be popular for a lot of people, but most of the people that I speak to are in favor of doing something different about our police.
Okay. I just wanted to know because, yeah, excellent. All right. Next, Grover. Grover, you want to be seen as a leader. We've talked about the epidemic, but what are the other big issues? And what is it you could do or thinking about that's the solution that people have been waiting for? In your words, sir.
You know, one of the biggest problems California faces is the fact that our legislature has been kicking businesses out that has created income and revenue for our state. And they think that just taxing people that are working hard is going to fix the problem. And so hence we have the income gap, because you have the people that are barely making it are being taxed so much on everything that they do that they can never get ahead. If we bring industry back to California and encourage them to either come back or stay in, that's going to produce revenue. And if we have revenue coming in, we're going to be able to fix the pension problem. We're going to be able to fix the issues with the high taxes, because if we have revenues coming in from the businesses, we can reduce the income tax and allow the people to have more opportunities. More businesses and more industry coming into California is going to also bring in more opportunities for people to start businesses and maybe get out of their job if they want to. Or maybe the new businesses come in and people can go to those new businesses and get promotions. That's going to reduce that gap. The homelessness issue, you know, the biggest issue I found being a police officer as long as I was, homelessness issue is a lot of the fact that there are broken systems in our government that don't allow them to get the assistance that they need. One guy I talked to in one of the parks in Sacramento said that the government typically creates a problem and then they come up with a solution and act like they're the heroes. But yet he said, I'm still homeless because I couldn't get a job because I'm homeless and there's no services out there to help me.
Thorough. Nicholas, running for governor, saying you have the solutions. How would you handle some of California's biggest tackles or problems, pickles? And how would you do it differently than the current governor's doing it? In your words, sir.
Absolutely. Well, my plan is to actually solve the problems by providing solutions. I mean, with homelessness, instead of spending tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars on temporary housing, like with Project Roomkey, I would actually build homes. I mean, you asked about doing something different. Something that hasn't been done is building 3D printed homes, which is what I do once I'm elected governor. These 3D printed homes can be built in less than 24 hours for less than $5,000 each, and they're self-sustainable. So this, of course, could be provided as immediate emergency housing to those in need. The working class people of California also could use a reprieve. They're still being taxed to death. California is still one of the highest taxed states in the entire nation per person. So eliminate some of those taxes. So as for the next 2 years as governor, you can expect a reprieve financially, get our economy going again by letting people keep their money in their pockets where it belongs instead of letting government wastefully spend it on pet projects. So I do have another plan, which is what I call the Gold New Deal, which is to basically take our resources and generate wealth from that, generational wealth, and put us on the track to the future. It makes no sense why companies like Nestle is able to siphon off hundreds of thousands of our water and sell it back to us. Meanwhile, if I'm a homeowner and I have a well in my backyard, I get taxed for my own water usage. So my Gold New Deal, again, will put us on the path to abundance where we have our own water supply to take care of droughts and our own energy independence. So won't have to rely on PG&E and SoCal Edison.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to move on to the fourth question. There's additional questions coming from reporters that we want to ask you live from the reporters. We'll get to that in a second. Here's the fourth question. Children in California are having their education severely impacted by the lockdowns. How would you reopen schools so everyone can feel safe? Now, recently, the Governor Newsom has reopened the schools, but this question was designed a month ago when we weren't sure. So the question, although it's a little bit modified, it's still the same thing. How would you do reopening of the education system in a way that makes people, parents, teachers, and kids feel safe? Dakota, your response, sir.
Of course, I would have opened the schools. I come from a family. I have family that are teachers back in Tennessee, and they've already opened, they've been open, and they're thriving. Kids, today in California and all across America, depression is at an all-time high. Suicides in kids, teenagers, it's all-time high. Teachers, they have a degree. They want to use it. They want to get paid. Kids are wanting to get out among their peers. They're wanting to get back in their academics, sports, after-school programs. It's the most pivotal time of their lives. Seniors, they want to finish their last year and make it special. Kindergarten kids, they're just beginning their journey into the education system. They want to be able to enjoy it and go, but they was robbed for so long of that. But I would have reopened schools, yes, immediately. I wouldn't have robbed these kids of education or these teachers without pay, without doing what they love to do.
So your response, if I'm getting this correctly, would be to just reopen the schools, and that would basically be okay with most people. Is that a fair summary?
And make no mistake about it too, don't let people think, well, the teachers was getting paid while the schools was closed. The teachers were not getting paid. Don't get fooled by that. The teachers wasn't getting paid. They were having to find other jobs on the side and basically just live by either support from family, husbands, wives, whoever was working. But do not get fooled by saying the teachers were getting paid. They was not.
Okay.
At least the ones I talked to, they wasn't.
Same question. How would you reopen California schools in a way that makes everyone feel safe who has to partake in it? Grover.
I don't know that there's really a way that everyone's going to feel safe. I would open the schools like right now and have the masks be optional, because we don't have any evidence that schools are a place where COVID is being transferred from children to adults. The data and the science that we're supposed to be following is unknown to us. And Gavin Newsom seems to think we're not smart enough to read it or know about what the updated science is. So I would open them up right away. Masks will be optional. And the teachers' unions right now, according to a teacher I spoke to a couple of days ago, the biggest problem that I am being told about is the special education students are the ones really suffering the most, and their parents and their families as well, because they're not getting the ability or they're not given the ability to go back to school where they're safer, because they have that environment that they're used to, not because it's dangerous at home, but because they're safe in their environment that they're used to going to every day. They have to be in their consistent program. And so we need to let these children come back to school. The teachers want the kids to come back to school, because what's happening, the teachers are actually doing more work for less money than they were before, because they have to figure out this audio-visual stuff that they've never been able to do. And they have to try and maintain and manage these young kids, for instance, without being able to be near them and touch them. Keeping a 5-year-old's attention on a computer screen when they're not playing a video game is very difficult, right? So these schools need to be open right away completely, and the unions need to get out of the way and let these students actually have teachers in the classroom. This plastic around the tables and desks, people need to remember that viruses don't just stop because there's a piece of plastic next to them, right? I mean, we have to be reasonable here about what's going on. Let's open them.
Okay, thank you. How would you reopen the schools in a way that's safe or feels safe for the average Californian and the people they care about? Nicholas.
I apologize. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
Okay. As I was saying, so to me, education is essential. I do support opening the schools, but I think doing so should be at the discretion of parents and educators. I mean, I've spoken to tons of parents that would love to get their kids back in school. They find, them having to, sit around a computer all day to not be as productive as in-person classes like Gavin Newsom's children have had the benefit of. So the awful part is they've been taken out of the conversation completely. So I definitely believe, of course, their choice needs to be taken into consideration first and foremost, and that's what I would do as governor. On the flip side, with educators, you do have a group of those who have used their lobbying power to influence policies, and politicians like Gavin Newsom, through the teachers' unions, to pretty much influence his decisions. So, and that's because they're contributors to his political campaign. I'm not beholden to the teachers' union. I'm not receiving funding from them. I'm not endorsed by them. Most likely I won't be. So I believe that, the students' best interests need to come first and foremost, not teachers' unions. And this is even more of a reason why government needs to get out of education, which I also will work towards doing once I'm elected governor, is removing those types of policies, because the choice of opening these schools should be solely between educators, again, parents, and the students. Government shouldn't be involved in that transaction at all.
Okay. Thorough. All right, we're going to move on to the fifth question. This is given in light of, it's kind of a wild card question. Now, many of the questions about the recall debate dealt with the specifics of the recall. Then we moved into how would you as a leader deal with other issues. Finally, we're going to expand it to an even greater scope. Obviously, there's a high level of division in America right now. Many people are upset with each other and polarized. Many polls show the highest rate of polarization amongst the American population since the 1940s, and the highest rate of people saying that they would not associate with somebody who's not of their political party since basically 1970s. So, not good. A lot of division. Some people, including in Texas, but also here in California, have said if things get bad enough, we should just peacefully separate rather than force each other to live under each other's rules while we're getting very heated. What is your answer for unity? And how do you feel about the people in Texas and some people here in California who say better to let people peacefully divorce than be held together in a bad marriage? How would you respond to that? Do you support that? Or would you have another plan on how to bridge the divide and bring everyone together in the most polarized climate America's faced in about 60 years? Dakota.
I think unity is always best. Try to bring people together, get along. But at the same time, our country, our people, we're more divided now than ever. Even probably in the Civil War days, you have people fighting within their own parties, Republican, Democrat, their own parties are fighting. You can't get along. So would I support succeeding? I think it would be hard from the people I talk to. You're talking about having to reform military, having to pretty much reform and rebuild everything. I would definitely, if the people wanted it, put it on the ballot. Let's see if it gets passed. If it gets passed, then there's your answer right there. But for me to just pull the trigger and say, we're done, we're out, see you on the flip side, I don't think that's something I could say yes to unless there was an absolute dramatic measure. But I would definitely put it on the ballot and see what happens. And if it gets passed, then there's your answer.
Very quickly, before we move on to the next person, what is your plan for unity then? Things are polarized, they're divided. How do you bring unity? Dakota.
You have to bring unity, and you don't bring unity through power. I don't think you should overpower and just bully to get unity. You have to have unity through peace. Bring people together. I see, and maybe I shouldn't say it, but if the Crips and the Bloods can get together and hold a barbecue, and I think Republicans, Democrats, anybody can get together and be unified, get together. I don't see why we're not getting along.
Okay. Same question to you. Now, obviously, peaceful separation is a radical idea. But if that's not the one, how do you deal with unity during the worst polarized climate in half a century? Grover.
Well, Marcus, first of all, California has enough resources to be our own country if we wanted to, right? We could pull away. The problem is we don't allow ourselves to. We can't even keep our lights on during the summertime when we know it's hot every year in Northern California. We can't even do that. We're closing power plants down, and we're buying our electricity from outside of the state. We import a good portion of our electricity. So even if we wanted to, we wouldn't be able to because we can't even run our own state. So as far as keeping people unified, first of all, when you have a governor who classifies or names people as essential and non-essential, how is that unifying people? I believe people are human beings and we all should work together as one purpose. And I think that's what this recall is really doing, is that doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, we're all together. And if we look at Californians as human beings, not the Black community, the Hispanic community, the Asian community, what are they doing? Why are we keeping track of what color people are when they get services or benefits from the state? Why does that matter? Should it matter? Because if you talk to the different groups, it doesn't. But yet we still categorize people based on their race. And until we stop doing that, we're not going to be able to unify.
Wow. Okay. Obviously, the topic of peaceful divorce is a radical solution, but the alternative of doing nothing is also radical and untenuous at best. Nicholas, how would you handle this? What is your response?
Indeed. Well, I believe that independence is the right of a revolution. If someone fights for their freedom, then being able to think for themselves and make their own choices is a benefit of that. So they should be able to claim their independence. And California definitely deserves that opportunity. I mean, right now we're the fifth largest economy in the world, but we also loan more money to the federal government than we borrow. So we're a donor state. So if we want to move up that economic ladder, then we, of course, could change that relationship, change the amount of taxes that we're paying to the federal government, which is exactly what I plan on doing. So the one thing about the federal government is they pose such a risk to the state of California, and they have administration after administration. We see that, whether it's too many taxes or too many regulation or, bad politics. I mean, Ashley Babbitt, she probably would still be alive if she wasn't so heavily invested into a presidential election. So it's obvious that federal policies do put the lives of Californians at risk. So I will do everything in my power as governor to improve that relationship between the state of California and the federal government. And it will be transparent. So the people themselves will see me making that effort. But if all else fails and things aren't getting better, then I hope they would support my executive decision to separate from the United States. Ultimately, that choice would be up to the people of California, since again, they would see everything for themselves. But I would stand by them on their choice if they wanted to, again, claim their independence.
Okay, that was interesting. That was very interesting. I'm going to bring on a special guest. We've just answered the 5 essential questions. I'm going to bring on reporter Diane with the Independent Sentinel. Let me see if Diane is there. Diane. Yes, we've just answered the 5 essential questions. I'm going to bring. I need you to kill the mic and your we're getting a little bit of feedback. Yes, Diane. Diane from the Independent Sentinel.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me? Diane, can you hear me?
Hi. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
This is
Can you hear
Diane
me?
Herman. I'm a reporter for the Independent Sentinel. I'd like to know how you would handle the influx of immigrants coming across the southern border and how you would provide and pay for the needed services that are already stretched to the extreme.
Okay, you heard the question. We're going to do the same thing, 2-minute answer per person. Everybody's going to the same amount of time. So let's go with Dakota. How would you respond to that in 2 minutes, sir? Everybody's going to the same amount of time. So let's go with Dakota. Okay, Dakota, could you answer the question, sir?
Yes. Well, if they're illegal, they shouldn't be coming across anyway, unless they already have paperwork, unless they're coming here legally. They shouldn't be coming here anyway. We should be putting our resources, our money, our housing toward our citizens, toward our residents. We have so many homeless, so many people that are out of work. We shouldn't be giving any more money, any more resources to illegals coming across our border. We should be turning them around and telling them, we can't take you right now. We don't have the resources. We sure don't have the housing. We don't have the money, anything to keep you. I know under a new administration, things look different, but how can you take somebody when you don't have the resources, when they're illegally? That's breaking the law. That's breaking our Constitution. You can't come here illegally and step foot across the border on American soil if you don't have the paperwork.
Okay, thank you. Grover, your response, sir, in 2 minutes.
My wife came from Mexico, and back in the 70s, her and her 8 siblings had to go through a process to get their citizenship. My children, their grandparents are Chinese, and their grandparents, grandmother and grandfather, both went through the process to come in here properly. We have an obligation as leaders to follow the laws, and as California governors, we don't have the authority to ignore federal immigration laws or any federal law at that matter. So I would support the federal immigration laws and make sure that we stop anyone coming into the borders through California unless they go through the right process. People that come here and they spend all this time and effort and money to come into this country, specifically through California, they're proud of becoming Americans because they've gone through a process that's not easy. To allow people to just come in here and get everything that they want without going through that process, I think it'd just be completely unfair and wrong.
Okay. Nicholas, your response, sir, please, as you would like to say it.
Indeed. I've spoken with a lot of people that are against immigration, and the main gripe that they have with it is the benefits that immigrants do receive. So my proposal is what I will be doing as governor is put a sunset clause on these benefit programs. I mean, to me, it doesn't make any sense why taxpayers should have to foot the bill for someone's livelihood for 18 years or whatever the case may be. So they should have an opportunity to receive those benefits for a short amount of time, just as any other American would. As I said, we are a donor state, so we're sending more money to federal government and assistance for people that don't even live in California. If we save that money, keep that here in the state, then we have more money to help those here in the state of California. And to call anyone that comes to America illegal, to me, is prejudice. If you look at the immigration laws in this country, they are inherently racist. So I will be doing everything in my power to make sure that I will eliminate that practice. The immigration process, as lengthy as it is expensive. It can cost tens of thousands of dollars. And the majority of immigrants here in the state of California come from China or India or Canada, even European countries. So we shouldn't discriminate against people that are coming here to this land. Our state of California is seeking to make our economy better. And we definitely shouldn't discriminate against people looking to make a better livelihood for themselves when that's exactly what America is all about. So if anything, I would be inviting those people here to California.
Okay, I'm going to go back to Diane.
Inviting
Diane,
those people here to California.
Almost done.
Okay, I'm going to go back to Diane.
Almost done.
Okay, sorry, I got to mute the mic because there's a feedback thing. So Diane, I'm going to ask you, do you have a follow-up question for the candidates based upon their response to this? I'll turn it over to you and you can ask them if you had a follow-up question for them based upon this. And then we're going to go to questions from the audience. So Diane with the Independent Sentinel. Follow-up question for them based on this. And then we're going to go to questions from the audience. So Diane with the Independent Sentinel. Follow-up question for them based on this. And then we're going to go to questions from the audience. So Diane with the Independent Sentinel. Diane, can you hear me?
I the opportunity to pose a question. Just a little background. I was born in California, raised in California, didn't leave until I went away to college. So this conversation is really important to me. and means a lot to me. So I appreciate the opportunity to pose a question, and I appreciate your forthright answers. And I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, Marcus, and thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Diane.
That was easy.
Okay, yeah. All right, we're going to go right into questions from the audience. We have questions, so if you are on YouTube watching this live, if you type in a question, we see it here at StreamYard. Send your questions in. We're going to go right into questions in the order that they came. So a question from a Yes California person. Do you support forced vaccinations? So this is kind of a hypothetical question. Let's say vaccinations are here, everybody can get one,
Yes.
Nobody has to wait at all. And let's say every medical scientist is saying, boy, it'd be great if we could get everybody vaccinated. And if we could get everybody vaccinated, like all 100%, we can move forward so quickly. But then there's 30% of the population who says, I don't want to get vaccinated. Make me. Scientists are saying we need everyone vaccinated. Got to happen. 70% ain't good enough. We need 100%. You're governor. Do you order vaccinations against people's will, or would you not do that when scientists are asking for it in this hypothetical scenario? Dakota.
No, absolutely not. I would not force anybody to get vaccinated against their will. It's their body. If they want the vaccination, then by all means, go get the vaccination. But to tell somebody, hey, you're going to put a needle in your body, you don't know what it is. You don't know what's going inside your body. You have some guy in a white coat who is a scientist telling you, oh, it's perfect, you have to get it. No, it would not be mandatory. They could get it if they wanted it, but it would not be mandatory at all.
Okay. Grover, your response, sir?
Well, I would do it only under the following circumstances. We start a study on all of our legislators, all of the scientists, all of the doctors who are saying that we have to get this vaccination. Let's let them all take the vaccination mandatory. And let's wait about 5 or 6 years and find out what the side effects are and what happens to them. And then we'll make that decision.
Okay.
So no.
It's whatever you want to say, unedited. Nicholas, in that scenario, what would you do? You're governor. You have power over 40 million people's lives. How do you handle it?
Well, I do not support forceful vaccination. I believe that at this point, with our nation's history and what we've done, all of our ancestors have done to fight against enslaving another person, no one should be forced to do anything against their will, and especially forcefully vaccinated, which we actually fought the Nazis against. So we shouldn't be supporting those types of policies. And I definitely would not sign any such legislation. As I said, it's, to me, antithetical to this nation's values at this point, which is to support freedom of every individual. But you should retain the right and the liberty to make that choice for yourself. Right now, the vaccination is being forced upon us, but there hasn't been any discussion about any natural remedies, any other types of treatment, like a inhaler, I believe, that was even created by a doctor out in Israel. There hasn't been any discussion or offer about that. So it's sad to now see our government pretty much become peddlers of vaccinations for big pharma. So I definitely don't support that at all. As governor, I do support nullifying SB 276 and 277, which mandates vaccination of our children in order, and adults, in order for them to be in education. So our kids, in order for them to go to schools, they have to be forcefully vaccinated. And again, for any educator or childcare provider, they must be vaccinated. So I would remove that mandate as governor of California and restore our right to choose for ourselves.
Okay. Okay, next question. Kind of a follow-on one. This is from Yeshuan. The previous question was from Sam. This is another Yes Cal person. Yeshuan asks, would you support requiring the vaccine to meet at large gatherings or attend school? So in this scenario, you don't have to take the vaccine just to get by, but you can't go to school if you don't take the vaccine, and your kids aren't forced to take the vaccine, and you can't go to church or any other large gathering if you don't all take the vaccine. So you don't have to do it, but you don't get access to your rights if you don't do it. Let me pull off 1 second here. Turn this 1 second, sorry. Need to get that question off the screen since we're moving on to a different one. Oh, it's banners. Okay. Dakota, how would you handle the situation where they say, okay, scientists are recommending that you don't get to go to school and you don't get to have any gatherings if you don't take a vaccine. So you can totally choose to not take the vaccine, but you can't really go to school and you can't really do anything with more than 3 people in a group. Would it be okay to require people to take the vaccine then, in your opinion, sir? Dakota.
No, once again, it wouldn't be required. If you was the governor of California, I don't know who would be telling you you would have to take this vaccine to go to church, to go to school. If you're the governor, you could just tell them, hey, look, yes, people have the right to choose if they want to take this vaccine or not. I don't know why it's getting to the point, and we hear a lot of this lately, forced vaccinations. And no, you wouldn't get forcefully told you're going to have to get a vaccination. Even the kids and the children that have to get vaccinated to go to school, I would eliminate that too. You shouldn't have to have your kid vaccinated to attend elementary school, to attend high school. That would be eliminated as well. All it is it's infringing upon your rights, and we've already fought for this. We fought for freedom. It goes back to the Civil War days. People fought for their rights. We would not have vaccinations forcefully mandated for any purpose, church, school, any gatherings whatsoever.
Okay, Grover, your response, sir.
You know, when the government recommends or requires vaccinations sold by big pharma in order for kids to go to school, school is actually a law in California that kids are required to go to school. And then saying, oh, by the way, if you want to go to school, you got to get this or that. It's a forced vaccination. So I would definitely not support that. It's a forced vaccination. And now, now we have parents, like you said, parents are mandated to get their vaccinations in order to be volunteers. Well, that's why I don't volunteer, because I'm not going to get my vaccinations just because they want me to. So yeah, it's the same thing. It's just another way of looking at it. You get a vaccination card to go into, the grocery store or whatever. No, that's all forced vaccination. Same thing. I would not support that.
Nicholas, your response, sir. Same question.
Well, no, as I said before, I definitely do not support any type of forced anything from the government. I mean, especially when it comes to one's body, they should be able to choose what they do with their own bodies. Government shouldn't be dictating what you should be able to do with your own body. Nor does the government have any right to take away or limit your rights as an individual. I mean, the Constitution is a book of rules for the government, not for we the people. You have tons of rights that does not fall within the Constitution. You have the right to breathe. You have the right to love whoever you want. You have the right to health care, but you don't have the right to force other people to pay for that health care. So it's a matter of, again, having a conversation about the topics that matters most to the people of California, and having a governor such as myself in office that will remove those dictatorial policies that have been overbearing and overruling over people's lives. So, no, I don't support any forceful vaccination or requirement of any identification proven of such.
Okay. Questions are coming in from the audience. Please keep sending those questions. We're going to get to them. So here's one that I like. Recently, California governors have notably deviated from U.S. foreign policy. We build bridges, not walls. Governor Brown said that in retaliation to President Trump. Would you continue this trend of CA governors having an independent foreign policy from the U.S.? What they're getting at is that Governor Schwarzenegger traveled to Asia and signed trade deals with 60 companies. President Bush, a fellow Republican, told him not to do that, but he did it anyways because he says, I'm governor of the world's 5th largest economy. I'm going to go get jobs. Then we can fast forward to Governor Brown. Said, I don't care what the federal government says. We're going to do our own climate change policy. Then you can fast forward to Governor Newsom saying, I don't care what the federal government says about immigration. I'm going to travel to El Salvador and tell everybody live on Latin TV that we have a separate foreign policy from America. You can go back over the last 3 governors, and there seems to be an attitude of, I run a gigantic economy. I can do whatever I want. I don't care if it's illegal or if the president doesn't like it. I'm just going to do it because I think it's better for California. Do you support that philosophy or do you not? Dakota, in your words, sir.
Well, you have to remember too, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he profoundly wasn't too good of a governor. He was basically a Democrat in a Republican tie. So let's not forget Mr. Schwarzenegger. I think you have to have the United States involved. That's easy to go overseas and say, hey, we're going to bring in new jobs, but where are the jobs? You know, we have so many unemployed people in California, and so many businesses are leaving California. Let's not forget that. And these are major businesses leaving, major industries leaving California. So you would have to bring back in, the U.S. just to go and say, hey, I'm going to go over there against my president's orders. That right there is, no, you shouldn't do that, because if one of these countries wants to come over and come to California and say, hey, we're about to take over California, the president could easily say, you're on your own. And then what would happen in California? It would basically be taken over by another country. So we have to remember that as well.
Okay, Grover.
So the last time I read the United States Constitution, it is the United States government that's responsible for international affairs and international business. My job as governor would be responsible for making sure that I bring jobs into California, not because it's my responsibility as a government official to do so. It's because it's the government's responsibility to get out of the way and let the businesses come into California and create jobs and build our economy. It's not my responsibility to be traveling all over the world to create federal policy for the federal government. So, and I don't know of any increase in our economy from China when Arnold Schwarzenegger went out there. So, yeah, to answer your question, no, my job would be to build California's economy. We are part of the United States of America, a union that is working together as 50 states to make our country and our states amazing. And so, yes, I would support California's economy.
Okay, Nicholas.
I also support California's economy, which is why, as governor, I would exercise my powers, or our state's power as a nation state, to improve the relationships with foreign leaders. I mean, we have a president right now who is essentially going around Congress to declare war on Syria. I would like to improve that relationship through diplomacy because I also believe that we should be building bridges opposed to walls. So it's a matter of, again, improving that relationship. We don't have to close business deals like Gavin Newsom and favor countries like China and make expensive purchases using taxpayers' money to create that type of relationship. It should simply be based on a free market type of opportunity to where everybody in the state of California is able to benefit from that relationship. Now, on the flip side, with I believe Dakota, he had mentioned about the threat coming from an outside uh, another country. If there was some type of a conflict, and we would be left on our own because of the federal government. Now, my solution to that is to make California a constitutional carry state, to where each and every person will be having the right to bear arms. So if somebody comes across our borders and they're a threat, you have the right to protect ourselves. We also have the National Guard, so everybody in the state of California will be well armed, well trained, and prepared to protect themselves if in the event an emergency or threat was to present itself.
Okay. Okay. So here's like a break. It seems like a break from the uh, decisions of the past three governors. So you had three governors in a row seem to have the opinion of, I'll just do what I want. And it seems like the consensus is that's not a good thing. Moving on to the next question. This is from Carlos. It's kind of a nuts and bolts question. So you're governor. You have to improve the business climate. Carlos is asking, do I have to pay a bunch of fees to open up a business? Or I guess perhaps, would you try to make a climate where there isn't a bunch of fees in order to open a business? How do you feel about massive amounts of fees and regulations in order to open a business in California? Would you try to undo that? Would you do something about that? Do you think something can be done about that? Dakota.
Well, yes, there's a lot that can be done. I own myself multiple businesses in California, and it is extremely expensive to open a business in California. The permits, the license, the fees. So you would have to eliminate a lot of fees. That is why our businesses are fleeing California by the thousands. You have so many businesses going to Texas, going to Oregon, going to Arizona. And it's because of the price is so high to start a business here that people just can't do it no more. They have to go elsewhere to start a business. So yes, I would eliminate a lot of the fees that California imposes just to start a business. And that goes in hand with a lot of the laws and regulations California has as well. We would get rid of a lot of that, but to open a business, it is very expensive in California. Like I said, myself, I own multiple businesses inside of LA County, so it is expensive, but we would eliminate a lot of the red tape and a lot of the non-essential fees as well.
Grover, how would you handle this? What is your opinion?
Yeah, I think, again, the biggest thing is the fact that we have so many regulations in this state on pretty much every industry that we have, and that's why they're all leaving. So yes, I would as well reduce the fees and the red tape. Just to build a home in California, you have to go through so many regulatory divisions and so many different people in the same division with different opinions that it takes a year or more just to get an approval to get permits to start a house. And that's one of the reasons why our housing is so expensive in California, as just an example of one industry. So yeah, our regulations are just way too high in California, and that needs to change.
Okay. Nicholas, your opinion.
Sure. Well, as I said, I would like to shift to non-taxpayer revenue generated streams or generated revenue streams. And it's unfortunate that right now our government uses taxation pretty much to do that. They codified our freedoms and now charged us to exercise our rights, and we're paying for them. You know, our right to travel is now a privilege, so we have to pay for it. Our right to fish is now a privilege now, so we have to pay for it. Our right to own a home now and build a home is a privilege now. We have to pay for it. If I build a home, I shouldn't have to pay taxes on it for the rest of my life. So I would, again, as governor, eliminate taxes, those policies for the next 2 years. The people of California will get to enjoy that for free. Um, basically, again, shift to that non-taxpayer generated revenue stream. So I would take, some of our state highways and, let companies like Verizon or Apple or Disney be able to claim naming rights to them. And I'm sure they would pay tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to do exactly that. That money would go towards funding the government, which we could do. And it would also go towards taking care of those roads, which now isn't coming out of taxpayer pockets. So it's a twofer, if you ask me. And that's exactly what I'm planning on doing once I'm governor. But I agree with regards to housing. The problem with affordable housing is the zoning, the permits, all of that, all of those costs add up. And I would like to alleviate that so we can improve the housing condition here in California.
Okay, we have a few more questions from the public, then we'll be going to closing statements by the candidates and a wrap up. A few more questions. As someone who's been registered green since I was 18, who felt a sting from both major political parties, Democrats and Republicans here in California, and as someone who identifies as a middle ground political stance, I want to know how you will adequately represent myself. What they're getting at is that one of the fastest growing movements in California in politics and voting is independence. People who won't say they're Republican or Democrat. In fact, while the majority of the voters are Democrat, the fact is that independents are now the second largest group, and a lot of them are ex-Democrats. How will you reach out and be the voice of independent voters who aren't that big a fan of either major political party? Grover.
Well, the biggest thing that I think needs to occur is we have to reduce the taxes that we're burdening the people with. You know, we have the gas tax, right? The gas tax is 50 cents on the dollar. It's supposed to specifically go to the roads. You know, we doubled our DMV fees with Jerry Brown to fix the roads, but none of it's getting done. So if we would simply do what we're supposed to do with the taxpayers' dollars, I think we're going to help everybody become more financially better off, because we're not going to be working so much just to pay our taxes. And when we pay our taxes, hopefully we're going to have less taxes, because that's the whole idea, right? We're going to be able to enjoy our lives more. We're going to be able to save more money. So that's how we're going to be able to help the independents, is by allowing them to get their freedoms back from being taxed on a regular basis and told what to do from the government.
Okay. Dakota, I made a mistake. I should have called you. Grover, thank you. Dakota, I apologize. Dakota, how would you respond to that question?
Basically the same thing. You have to talk to people that basically like us. Everybody wants the same thing. Cut the taxes. Get rid of the stupid laws that we have here. You know, you shouldn't go to the DMV and it shouldn't cost you an arm and a leg just to get your vehicle registered. You know, we have smog laws, and a lot of people might not agree with me, but you know, we have to get rid of the smog. It's time for California to get rid of the smog. It's stupid. It's outdated. People can't even go to work because their car don't pass a smog test, which is completely, it's just a scam in general. You hook your vehicle up, perfectly good vehicle, a great looking vehicle, good working vehicle, but it has an aftermarket product on it, so you can't use it. It's another money scam by California just to take your money. And if you get rid of smog, you get more money in your pocket. You get to drive the vehicles that you have in your yard. Some people have 3 or 4 vehicles in their yard. They run, they don't look bad, but they can't use them because it don't pass a smog check. And they say, well, there's so much air pollution in California. No, there's not. You have Texas too. What about Texas? They're huge. They don't have smog. And their pollution, air pollution, California and Texas, they probably have the same pollution. So it's another scam by California. We have to get rid of that. That's money that's completely wasted. And it's completely a waste of time for us as homeowners, vehicle
Go
owners,
home after
and
dinner if you want. Yeah.
Okay. Nicholas, your take, sir.
Say that again. I wasn't able to clearly hear you.
So there's a lot of independents in California. While California's majority Democrat, it's not fair to say that the second largest party is Republican. In fact, tied with them is independents. Independents come from Democrats, come from progressives, but also come from conservatives. How would you reach out to independents who are people who are not infatuated with either political party? What would you do to say, I'm not perfectly wedded to the parties, but more I'm a leader for you as a person? Nicholas Wellstar, in your opinion, sir.
Absolutely. Well, I stand out as a person that's of the people, by the people, and for the people. My commitment to activism for over the past decade is proof of that. And as a voter, I've been all across the political spectrum. I've been a Democrat and have voted for tons of Democratic politicians. I've voted as an independent. I've voted as a Republican. So I understand when it comes to what we demand from our political representatives, what's necessary, and that's a nonpartisan approach. For them to be independent minded and take away all of these policies that are creating more division between people that may have opposing views on a specific topic that may be controversial, whether it's drug use or abortion or immigration, or whatever the case may be. These are issues of our society to where, again, government shouldn't have such a heavy involvement. And as governor, that's exactly what I will do, is limit that presence that our government has right now, at least for the next 2 years. That's all I'm asking people is give me elected for the next 2 years. You'll get to see the difference that I'll be able to provide as governor. And if you don't like it, you can go back to your two-party system politics and those candidates that use demagoguery to pretty much keep themselves in power and keep these issues that divide us as Americans apart. Divided, together we stand, divided we fall. I want to unify the people of California in freedom.
Okay. I would just ask if anybody is watching this program on any other device but your laptop, if you could turn that off. There's a little bit of feedback that usually means another device or the volume is up really high on your end, but whatever. Okay, this question is for Dakota, but to be fair, everybody will be allowed to answer it. Vern Nelson says, Dakota may not remember how hard it was to breathe about half the time in Southern California in the 1960s and 70s. I think this is getting at that many Californians feel that the air quality was bad and that the smog laws helped make it better. Dakota, but then everybody will have a chance to respond. Dakota, a response to this question, sir.
Right. You're right. I don't remember. I wasn't born in the 60s or 70s or 80s, or I was born in 93. So no, I don't remember, but I can tell you this much. I have talked to people that was born in the 50s, 40s. I've talked to people 70 and 80 years old, and they have stated that the smog is a complete waste of money. It's a scam. So I think it's just something that politicians have engraved in people's heads, so they start to believe it. Kind of like Newsom is wanting all electric cars, electric vehicles by 2035. You know, it's complete nonsense. It's never going to work. I think we know it's not going to work. But as far as the smog goes, it's something that's been engraved for so long that people just they wouldn't know how to think without it. So why would somebody want to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get vehicles smogged, every 2 years or ever so often when you could completely save that money and have a perfectly good vehicle? Other states, they don't do it. Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas, they don't do the smog check, and, they're doing just fine out there.
Okay. The question was originally directed at Dakota, but it's available for everybody. You'll get the same amount of time. Grover, would you like to add a comment?
I remember I grew up in the 70s, and I remember being in long lines just to get fuel with my parents. And I remember even today going into LA and seeing that big, it looks like a cloud of fog, hovering over LA. And I know that smog is an issue, and I know that there has to be something done to make our air cleaner. And we have to be responsible about doing that. Canceling smog inspections, is that the right answer? I don't think it is, because we do have to have something in place to help keep our air clean. What the right answer is, I don't know. Requiring people to get rid of their cars if it's a certain age, those type of laws need to be removed from the books, because you're forcing people that can't really maintain their cars very well to go buy a new one. So there's things that can be done. Completely abolishing smog control or smog prevention, I don't know that that's a good idea for a economy of this size. We have a responsibility to participate in helping keep the air clean.
Okay. Nicholas, you have a minute and a half to comment or not comment, your choice. Nicholas,
Absolutely. Well, I believe we need to start shifting to become a resource-based economy, and utilizing renewable energies plays a significant role in that. I mean, as inhabitants of this planet, we all have a duty to take care of it, because we only have one of them. If we lose this planet, we're all dead. And if we want to make sure that we're all living, then we have to make sure that the air quality is great, and that our ground isn't polluted, as well as our water. So we need to start taking more care of our natural resources and improve that relationship with our planet. I don't think that should be done by force. And that's exactly what Gavin Newsom's policy has done, which mainly these environmental policies are revenue generators. I mean, with the smog check, and for truck drivers that are having to pay thousands of dollars to retrofit their trucks just so they can stay in business. So it's a way for the government to make more money, even though it's not slowing the amount of pollution in our sky. So we need to take a better approach to doing exactly that. It needs to be done by way of incentive instead of the iron fist. So as governor, I plan on moving to remove a lot of regulations like CARB, the California Air Resources Board.
Okay. Another question here. We're going to do two more questions, then we're going to go to final closing statements. We are ending at 7:30 hard. This question is from Julian Serrano. My concern is education. As governor, how would you deal with the California Department of Education? How would you make schooling better for all of us? Dakota.
Well, I think you have to have the schools open longer. You have to have, better resources to be able to stay at school longer. You have to have more money coming in to provide for your education, to provide that you're getting not only your essentials, books, everything that you need, but money left over that way that you can have a place to stay, have gas in your car. If you drive an electric vehicle, make sure you can get to the electric station to charge it up. I know how hard that must be when you can't go to the gas station. So, the main thing it boils down to is having enough money, having enough resources. I know FAFSA, they really slowed down a lot with their money system, and you just have to have more money.
Okay. Grover, how would you fix education in California and make it better for everybody?
There was a time where we had 3 of our 5 children in homeschool. And when we did the homeschool option, we were able to have money diverted from the school district to us so that we can actually pay for different classes and help out with some of the science and some of the other classes so that my children can actually go to classes with other kids and learn from a legitimate teacher. So when the money was given to homeschoolers, the money seemed to have gone much further. As a matter of fact, we struggled to spend it all to make sure we had all the classes we can get. We helped them with the extracurricular activities for the PE portion. But when the money goes to the schools, it seems like there's never enough, and we're bringing paper and pencils to the teachers, and the teachers are buying stuff. So what's happening is the schools are getting plenty of money. The problem we have is that they're not managing our money properly. And one of the biggest issues I see is the school districts and the administration is so highly overpaid, and they don't work much at all. And the teachers are doing all the work and they're getting okay pay. But the money is not being used properly. That's really our problem with our educational system. Once we fix that, and then of course we change the curriculum to a 1776 curriculum, a true educational system, teaching them true history, then we'll improve our education that way. As just one idea.
Nicholas.
Well, as I stated earlier, when I was discussing about reopening schools during this pandemic, I believe the educational system should be heavily influenced by the choices of parents, students, and educators. Government shouldn't have their dirty hands in it at all. So the educational system in California is 2 ways. You have the K through 12 program, which I again support more so of a hands-on type of control, like what Dakota was talking about, or pardon me, Grover. That way parents can be able to delegate where their money is actually going instead of, administrators. So if we again remove government's involvement from that, now there would be more checks and balances between teachers and local schools locally. On the flip side, with higher education, I do support cancellation of debt of student loans. So I actually used to work in assisting people with consolidating their school loans, and have learned that many of them have been because it's predatory. I mean, Navient and Great Lakes have been proven time and time again to have been fraudulent and criminal in providing these loans to recipients. So anyone that has received a loan in the state of California will have their debt canceled by Governor Wildstar, since, again, President Biden will not act on student loan relief.
Okay. This is a more interesting question. This will be our last question from the public. I apologize. Then we'll do final statements and closing hard. A lot of people here in California are impressed when their governor seems to take to the national stage. Now, we had a question earlier asking about your general opinion on that. This is a little bit more specific. Rather than acting like a president in order to help the California economy, how do you feel about the California governors saying things for human rights. California is the world's fifth largest economy, home of Silicon Valley, the internet, smartphone, laptops, and movies. And when it speaks, it does seem to have an impression. As governor, would you have spoken out against the Chinese government for the repression of the students in Hong Kong who were asking to not be forced to be taught history that was incorrect, and were asking for the basic rights that every Western country has? Or would you have said, not my place as governor? Dakota.
I think yes, for something that extreme, you would have to make a comment, a statement, but at the same time, as a governor, it's not your place whatsoever. You're not the president of the United States. You're simply a governor of a state. That's all you are. That's all you control is that state. You don't control other countries. You don't control the entire country of America. You control your state. So to get involved to an extreme, no, it wouldn't be my place. But to make a statement against what is happening and what's all happened, then yes, you have to make a statement to let your voice be heard, to let the world know, hey, we see what's going on, we're watching. But to get involved to an extreme measure, no, I think that would be the president's job to do.
Okay. Grover, your opinion, sir. How would you handle that?
I think California has a responsibility to be a good example. And I definitely support human rights of everyone all over the world. And I would definitely make a statement to that effect, supporting the fact that they need to be protected no matter what country you're in. But yes, I mean, we don't have the resources in California to be actively participating in any human rights issues outside of our state. And that's not what our California taxpayers are paying for. But we definitely would support the federal government as well. But yes, I would make a statement supporting human rights, definitely, no matter where you are.
Nicholas Wildstar, how would you respond? You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, great. So, as a longtime human rights activist, I definitely would feel inclined to speak out on the issue. I mean, I am entitled to my own opinion, which I would express to hopefully put some pressure on the federal government to act. But ultimately, international affairs shouldn't interest the people of California. I mean, my job as governor would be to take care of the welfare of the people of California. And that's exactly what I would do, is focus on them first and foremost. When it comes to improving our business relationship with foreign countries, again, diplomacy is key, but I don't think we should go imposing any type of a charter or a stop or tariff or anything like that to discipline another country for how they treat their own citizens. Um, Again, if the people of California want to act, then them as individuals are afforded that liberty, that right to speak out against the issues that they see in the world. But me as the elected representative, my power and authority that would be limited according to the Constitution would keep my focus here on the people of California.
Okay. That concludes the public question section. Thank you all for answering all 5 questions and taking unforeseen questions from the public. You did great. Appreciate it. We're going to be entering the concluding ending statement part. Every candidate will have 2 minutes to give their final closing statements. This can be a call for why people should vote on you. This can be a clarification of anything you said, or basically anything you'd like to say. So for 2 minutes, your final statement to anybody watching now and when we post this to 160,000 people in the near future. Dakota Vaughn.
Like I stated, we have a lot going on. We have more interviews coming up. I will be posting. I'm running for governor strictly for the people. I go to different cities. I've been to Compton, Long Beach, Pomona, Montclair, all of these cities that are not big on the map, kind of like your Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. And, I'm wanting to run for the people. I made a comment earlier about, and I want to make it clear that I'm not against immigrants whatsoever. Myself, I'm married to a Turkish woman, but I'm against illegals. So that I want to make that clear. But I also want to make sure that if you get on my website, dakotakvaughn.com, I wanted to stay within the time limit to respect. But, I'm running to defund the police. I want to make sure that it's very clear that we have police brutality that we have to take care of. These people are not going to be forgotten. George Floyd, we have Breonna Taylor, and so many more. It goes back to Rodney King. It's got to stop. There's the mayor of Compton. She's had run-ins with sheriff's departments, police. There's a gang inside the LA Sheriff's Department right now getting tattoos. A lot of people don't know it, but I'm going to put a stop to it. Other people won't talk about it, but California has the highest paying police wages in America, and it don't take no time to become a cop. It takes a lawyer 8 years to study law, and then a cop comes along and thinks they know it. So, to defund the police, it's not a very good thing for a lot of people, but it's an issue right now that is trying to be swept under the rug, and we're going to remember, and you have to put a stop to it. You got so many police out here getting brand new cars, brand new equipment. We're going to cut their wages. We're going to cut them drastically. Not saying get rid of them completely, but you got a lot of bad apples that you have to get rid of. And that's your taxes right there. Get rid of their wages. They make so much money. They do nothing. They sit around.
I have to stop you there. Thank you. Thank you. Grover Coltharp, last words to the public, sir.
California is an amazing state. We've got the most well-trained law enforcement in the country out here in California. Our law enforcement agencies actually have their own departments within the department to monitor and fire cops that are bad. My goal as governor is to make sure that this state, the government of this state, is given back to the people of California. The Constitution itself says that the power of the government is inherent in the people. And we have to make sure that the people's voice is heard. We need the people to know, as governor, I'm going to make sure that there is a direct line into my office and into the governor's mansion or the Capitol to make sure that they know what's going on. Nobody knew that in July our legislators tried to write a law to cancel the state of emergency. Nobody knows that back in July. Why didn't everybody know that? Because they are not transparent. They don't want you to know what they're doing. And I would be fine. People want police to wear cameras. Why don't we have our legislators wear cameras? Let's find out what they're doing. We elected them. Let's try that and see how it works.
That's good. Okay. Nicholas, you have 2 minutes and 25 seconds. What would you like the people of California to know about you?
Absolutely. Well, I would like to say thank you to everyone for watching this debate and listening to the long-winded reasons as to why we as candidates believe we are the best one to serve as your governor, because you are the one who ultimately decides what it really takes to be a governor. All that I ask is when you get into that voting booth that you know for certain that the candidate that you're supporting is actually living proof of what it does take. Every election, we as voters get caught up in the glitz and glamour and theatrics of politics instead of paying attention to the millions of dollars being spent on buying our attention. Money that could have gone towards improving the very people's lives that these politicians claim they want to help. We, the people, get caught up in celebrity admiration and put people who should be equal to us up on a pedestal, only to treat us like we're beneath them. Any person that wants to govern the lives of others must first prove their ability to successfully govern their own lives. You can have all the college degrees in the world, graduated from the best schools, have a high IQ, and still make a bad decision. It doesn't take a genius to make the right choice, but it does take a true representative of we the people to receive the honor of becoming governor. As a husband who has been with an incredible woman for 10 years and a hardworking father who has worked tirelessly to provide a better life for his son and every person living in California, it would be my absolute pleasure if I were given that opportunity. No campaign is able to run without an engine. So for those of you that would like to power up Team Wildstar, please check out my website, wildstar2022.com, and let's bring back liberty. Thank you, and may the light of God and liberty shine on each and every one of you.
Thank you. Well, you've heard it here. Final comments from me as the moderator and president of Yes California. This was a success. Our point was to show that there were people who were real life Californians and felt serious about this issue and were not motivated by some inherent horrible bias, but just because they thought things could get better here in California. We also wanted you to meet them on your own. One of the issues here in California is that we don't talk to each other if we're not on the same political team. There is literally an information gap the size of the Grand Canyon between people on the left and people on the right who have no idea what the other side's actually saying, more than just a stereotyped caricature that they see on TV. We here at Yes California are reflective of California. And while California is majority progressive, it is not all progressive. There are many independents, there are many conservatives, there are many business owners, and they too are Californians. You just saw conservatives come here and they said, we need to deal with police reform. All of them agreed with that. You saw conservatives come here and they were married and in interracial families. Everyone here agreed with that. Those are California values. And so what I see is Californians, regardless of their political differences. And that tells me we need to do a better job at speaking to each other and sharing information so that we can survive as a California region and so that we can govern ourselves better. And Yes, California is committed to following that California value of building bridges instead of walls. We invite others who would like to talk to us from either political spectrum or any background. We will always be here to speak to all Californians and to try to inform Californians in an unbiased manner about the facts and issues that face California. I'll leave it there. Please consider Yes California, the Calex of Congress, for any of your social activist needs, or if you ever want to talk to somebody who believes that you have the right to have an opinion, even if it's different from other people. I'll leave it there. Thank you to all of the candidates for coming. I really appreciate it. I'm going to do the outro, and that'll be the end of this evening.
Really?